Is there a chance that you may have overdid it during the holiday season and now we're dreading looking at our credit card bill? What about New Year's? Did you make a resolution to, really buckle down on your budget and maybe spend less at the grocery store? What about meal planning? Are you wanting to meal plan but just not sure how to do it? And are you so sick and tired of that dreaded question that everybody asks you? What is for dinner? Well, you are in the right spot because every week I share a free weekly meal plan for a family of four on a budget of under $100. Okay. And yes, it is possible. And as a bonus, I've started creating free printable PDF files of the plans with a grocery list so you can just download it, print it at home, totally free. And I'm going to put that link in the description. So don't forget to check that out. So let's deep dive into this meal plan. So let's start with just a quick overview of the menu for this week. And then I'm going to break down each day of how to do this in such a way to where you can home cook meals every night. And it's not going to take you near as much time as you think. And it's probably even quicker than getting fast food. Yes, trust me. So for breakfast this week, we're going to have scrambled eggs with home-style potatoes, French toast with pancake syrup, some overnight apple pie oatmeal. For lunches, we're going to have salads. We're going to have some white beet hummus with carrots. We're going to do some leftovers. We're going to have grilled cheese sandwiches with carrot sticks and tortilla chips. And one day we're going to have baked potatoes with some taco meat. You can add sour cream and stuff, make it real nice. Then for dinners this week, we're going to have teriyaki chicken with broccoli and rice. We're going to have turkey hamburgers with homemade potato wedges. How about a creamy spinach pasta with chicken and a side salad? We're going to have an easy night of cheesy tuna melts on hamburger buns with side salads and sauteed apples. Taco pasta. Finish the week off with chicken and rice soup with toast. And then we're also still going to have leftovers. Now, that's not all. We're also going to have enough for snacks where you can have apples, carrots with ranch, tortilla chips, and we're going to have a sweet treat, which is going to be vanilla ice cream with pancake syrup. And before you say that's odd, I thought it was odd too until my son requested it, and now it's become a family favorite. Now, here is the shopping list for this meal plan, and I like to break everything out by section. And I've included little spots where you can do a little check mark if you already have these items. I priced this out all over the US. One of the highest prices was, of course, in California, and the grand total for this shopping plan came out to $75.65, and that's at the Walmart in Fremont, California. So if you live in a cheaper area, it may even be closer to $70. But honestly, most Walmarts, the price difference is not that much. So let me show you how I would break this down day by day and give you some tips how to make home cooking go faster. So for day one, we're going to start with scrambled eggs and home-style potatoes. Now, I like to make home-style potatoes using baked potatoes. And the easiest way to do this is to wash your potato, use a fork and poke some holes in it, and then put it in your microwave for 2 to 3 minutes. Flip it over, do another 2 to 3 minutes, and keep flipping it and repeating it in the microwave a couple times until it's nice and soft. Now, this is something that you can do the night before, and then go ahead and put them in your fridge and let them be cold. So first thing in the morning, all you have to do is dice open those cooked potatoes and then throw them in a pan with some oil and some seasoning, and you have some easy home style potatoes. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and cook 2 days worth, because tomorrow all you have to do is just heat up the potatoes. You don't have to do it all from scratch again. Now, for lunch prep, we're going to have salads with tomato, cucumbers, and shredded cheese. So what I would do is go ahead and dice half of my tomatoes for salads for lunch, as well as for a couple of the side salads we're going to have for dinner. And then I would save some of the tomatoes and go ahead and make some nice slices. So that way I can use them for my burgers and for my tuna melts. Same thing with lettuce. I'm going to buy a big head of lettuce. I prefer romaine, but you can get iceberg. We're going to go ahead and chop up all of that lettuce for salads, but we're going to save a couple of the bigger pieces for our burgers. And then lastly, we're going to go ahead and chop up the cucumbers for the salads. So now in your fridge, you will have a container of diced tomatoes, a container of sliced tomatoes, a container of chopped lettuce, a container of some bigger pieces of lettuce, and then a container of chopped cucumbers. Now, the trick on that lettuce is once you chop it, you wash it, you chop it up, put it in a Ziploc bag, and roll it to get as much air as possible out, and then seal it. And then that lettuce will actually last all week long. Now, for the dinner on this night, it's teriyaki chicken with broccoli and rice, which sounds really fancy, but it doesn't have to be. So, the first thing you're going to do is cook your rice. And so, what I do is I go ahead and start my rice because you know that that's going to take, 20, 25 minutes. And while that's going, I'm going to go ahead and cook 1 to 2 chicken breasts. And I like to just go ahead and chop it up into about 1 inch pieces and then saute that. I usually use the frozen broccoli, that's the steam in the bag. So I throw that in the microwave. And then once my chicken is done, I can throw that broccoli in and we just need a sauce. And a really simple teriyaki sauce is basically it's just a 1/4 cup of soy sauce and a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. And you stir it really well and make sure everything is coated. And then you serve it over rice. Super easy meal. Now keep in mind, we're going to use cooked rice later on. So on a normal night, I would probably only cook like 3/4 of a cup of rice for dinner. But on this night, I'm going to go ahead and cook 2 cups of just plain white rice. And I'm going to save about a cup of it to be used in my soup later on in the week. Now, the other thing that is good here is if you have the time on day one, you can actually go ahead and pre cook your chicken for 3 separate meals because we're going to need some form of chicken. And what I would do is go ahead and coat the chicken with a little bit of oil and salt and pepper, put it on a sheet pan, and then cook it in the oven for about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the size of your chicken breast. And then go ahead and pre-package those up into like Tupperware containers. And then on each night, your chicken's already cooked. So that just saved you 30 minutes each night. So, day 2 for breakfast, we're going to have scrambled eggs and homestyle potatoes again. Hopefully, we already pre prepped some potatoes, so we're just warming them up. And it doesn't take hardly any time to make some scrambled eggs. You can even throw toast in there if you wanted to. Now, for lunch, we're going to have a white bean hummus. And there's a lot of different canned white beans out there. And I just go with whatever is on sale. Now, to make a really easy hummus, all you need is like a food processor. And what I do is I take those beans and I go ahead and rinse them in cold water straight from the can and then dump them in the food processor and then just kind of hit it a couple times until everything starts getting pretty small. And then once everything is pretty well chopped, then you can go ahead and add like your diced garlic, minced garlic, any kind of seasonings you like, and then slowly add a little bit of olive oil or vegetable oil, and then hit the pulse button a couple times, and you just keep adding a little bit of oil at a time and hitting the food processor, and before you know it, you have that nice thick consistency that's smooth of hummus, and it tastes great. For dinner this night, we'll have turkey hamburgers with homemade potato wedges. Now, potatoes do take a little while to cook in the oven, so I would start with those. And what I do is you have your potato, and I just slice it in half, and then I just make like 3 angled cuts, so each half a potato becomes 4 potato wedges. Once again, just I put them in a bowl and I drizzle them with a little bit of oil and some salt and pepper, maybe some garlic powder or onion powder, and then lay them out on a greased sheet pan and cook them in the oven. Now, I do like to check on them about 15 minutes in and flip them, and then do another 15 minutes and flip them until they're fully done. Now, for the turkey burgers, everybody makes burgers a little bit differently, but how I like to make them is I take 1 pound of ground turkey, I do 1 egg, about a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs, and whatever seasoning I want. And yes, it's very similar to like a meatloaf, but I find when I do this that when you cook the burgers, they don't super shrink up as much. And just remember, you want to get them as flat and thin as possible. And quarter-pound burgers are pretty big, so this will be pretty filling. Now, on a side note, I don't have breadcrumbs on the shopping list, and that's because typically we make our own breadcrumbs. And what I do is those ends and pieces, like the heels of sandwich bread, or if I have a leftover, like one hamburger bun or a hot dog bun, I just throw them in the freezer. And then when I need breadcrumbs, I just take out 1 to 2 pieces. I throw it in the food processor or a chopper, and I just chop it real quick. And you don't even have to defrost the bread. And then you can add whatever seasonings you want. Or in this case, since I'm already going to have seasoning for the burgers, I don't really need to have seasoned breadcrumbs. So, another pretty super easy dinner. It's going to take a little time, but the next ones are going to go really quick. Okay, so for day 3, we're going to have breakfast of French toast with pancake syrup. We're going to have leftovers from the first 2 nights' dinners. And we're also going to have a creamy spinach pasta with chicken and a side salad for dinner. So for the French toast, it's actually very simple to go ahead and make it that morning. It doesn't take a whole lot of prep. But if you want to, maybe you don't have enough time in the morning, you can pre-make a, a casserole. You can actually pre-bake it the night before, and then you just warm it up in the morning. Lots of options there. Now, for the spinach pasta, we're going to need 1 to 2 chicken breasts. I like to use frozen cream spinach, but you can't always find it, so you can just use plain frozen spinach. I use half a box of pasta, and then I'm going to use some of the diced fresh tomatoes that we already cut, and then we'll just use some shredded mozzarella cheese. Now, I kind of like to do this similar to like a one pot meal. So first I'm going to boil my water for the pasta, and while it's cooking, if I didn't pre-cook my chicken, I'm just going to go ahead and chop my chicken into 1 inch pieces and saute it until it's fully done. And then once it's fully cooked, I'm going to add my frozen spinach. If you do like the cream spinach, that one's super easy. But sometimes if you buy a block of spinach, it's just a big, huge chunk. What I'll do is I'll just put it in a Tupperware and microwave it for a couple like seconds, like 30 seconds, to loosen it up so you don't just have like a big old block of spinach in there. And then if I do use plain spinach, I'll add a little butter and some extra mozzarella cheese to kind of make my own cream spinach. And then once the pasta is done, I just drain it and add it to my chicken and spinach mixture and just stir it real well. And then when it's ready to serve, I just top it with a little fresh diced tomatoes for the color. And I don't want all that to get kind of hidden, and some mozzarella cheese. And we're going to serve it with a side salad, but we don't have to prep anything because we already cut all that stuff up before. So super easy there. If you did use the pre-cooked chicken, you can just skip the cooking of the chicken part and just go straight to boiling the water and add it to a pan. Super, super quick and easy. Okay, so day 4, we're going to have French toast with pancake syrup for breakfast. For lunch, we're going to have grilled cheese with carrot sticks and tortilla chips. Now, grilled cheese is honestly just a super, super quick lunch that's easy to make. But keep in mind that you don't have to have just the regular boring grilled cheese anymore. You can add a slice of tomato, add pickles, add some lunch meat. I love to use pre cooked bacon or lots of different types of cheese. So doesn't have to be boring if you don't want it to be. Now, for this dinner, it's actually going to be super easy. Have you ever had a tuna melt? Well, basically, all you're going to need is 2 cans of tuna. Use either mayonnaise or ranch dressing. We're already using ranch dressing for our side salads and stuff, so I'm just going to use that. Some sliced cheddar cheese and 4 hamburger buns. Now, I like to go ahead and drain my tuna and rinse it with water just to kind of get that can taste out. And then I mix the canned tuna with a little bit of ranch, and I just keep adding ranch until I get like a nice thick consistency. You want it to be similar to like a tuna salad. And then I let that sit for a minute, and then I take my hamburger buns and I brush the tops and bottoms of the bread with a little bit of butter, and then I toast it in the oven. Then once those are ready, I take just the bottoms and I put, a quarter of the tuna mixture on top. And then I put a slice of cheese and I put it back in the oven just to melt that cheese and to get everything nice and warm. And then Bam, it's done. Um, as a side dish to this, because that's a super easy, quick meal, we're going to do some sauteed apples. So we're going to take, say, like 4 apples, depending on the size, and we're going to start by washing the apples and chopping them into 1/2 inch pieces. Now, some people like to peel their apples. I actually like all the extra fiber in the peel, so I leave them on. And then all you do is in a medium saucepan, add about a tablespoon of butter, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, your diced apples, and a dash of cinnamon, and then just let them cook over medium high heat until the apples are really soft and tender. Now, here's the kicker: you want to save about half of those apples for overnight oats, okay? Because we're going to have that, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But trust me, 4 apples actually makes quite a bunch for a side dish for dinner, plus prepping for the next breakfast. Okay, so for day 5, we're going to have apple pie overnight oats. We're going to do leftovers for lunch, and we're going to have a taco pasta for dinner. Now, those overnight oats, we're actually going to make them the night before, and this is super easy. You always see the pictures where people make like little individual cups of apple pie or overnight oats, but you can actually make just one big container. And so what I like to do is use like a large Tupperware container, and I put my apples on the bottom, and then I measure out my quick oats. And typically speaking, you want about 1/2 cup of oats per person. So is this a family of 4? You could easily just do all your apples at the bottom, do 2 cups of quick oats, and then you want to pour milk slowly over the oats. Now, if you ever made overnight oats in just one little container, you pour the milk until it kind of burps, and then you know when it's fully filled. But as a good rule of thumb, you're going to want about a cup of milk. But really, you want to make sure that all the oats are covered. And it depends, because some people like their overnight oats to be very thick, and some people like it more creamy. And then you just refrigerate it overnight. The next morning, what you do is just mix everything together with a spoon, and then you can measure it out for each person. And my kids actually like to eat it cold, but on really cold days, I just pop it in the microwave for like 30 seconds just to get it a little warm. Totally up to you which way you want to do it. So for dinner, we're going to have taco pasta. And all you need is a pound of ground turkey, the other half of the box of pasta, some taco seasoning, a can of black beans, and a can of tomatoes. I like the Rotel style where it has like the diced peppers in there. And optionally, you can use sour cream, crushed tortilla chips, and shredded cheddar cheese. Now, I kind of like to make this as a one pot meal. So I start by browning my ground turkey in a large saucepan. And then once that's fully cooked, I drain the fat. I sprinkle my taco seasoning on top, and I add just a little bit of water. And I let that cook for a minute. At that point, I need to go ahead and save about a quarter of my cooked taco meat, because we're going to need that for lunch tomorrow. Now, at this point, I'm going to add some drained and rinsed black beans and my can of tomatoes. I don't usually drain the tomatoes, but you can if you want to. Now, next, once all those items are in there, I'm going to add my pasta, and then I'm going to add just enough water to where everything is covered. And then I'm going to put the lid on, and I'm just going to let that be medium high heat, let it boil and cook that pasta until it's tender. Now, I'll take the lid off and let it cook for a couple more minutes, and most of the liquid should have been absorbed or evaporated. But if you still have a good amount of liquid and it's more like taco soup, here's the trick. Add a little bit of sour cream, like just a spoonful, and it'll actually thicken up your sauce and make it more creamy. But that's optional. You may not want to do that. Then what I do is I serve my pasta, and then I top it with some crushed tortilla chips and shredded cheese. Totally up to you. Okay, so for day 6, we're going to have the second half of the apple pie oats. So breakfast is super simple. Now for lunch, we're going to have baked potatoes with the leftover taco seasoning, taco seasoned ground turkey. Now at this point, you can also add some sour cream and some cheese. Super easy. And you can make those baked potatoes the night before in the microwave, or just make it the day of, whichever is easier for you. Now, one of my favorite ways to use up leftovers is to make soup or stew. So, especially during the wintertime, this is a super easy one. So, we're going to need probably just one chicken breast because you don't actually need a whole lot of meat in soup for it to be filling. We're going to have that leftover cooked rice and any rice that we didn't use for leftovers. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean out my fridge. Do I have any leftover diced onion or peppers or maybe corn or carrots or any vegetables? And we're going to use that in this soup. We're going to need a couple chicken bouillon cubes. We're going to use any seasoning that you like and then water. So if you're starting with raw chicken, I would just go ahead and saute the chicken in a large pot with oil until it's fully cooked. And then remove that, allow it to cool, and then either shred it or dice it. If you already pre-cooked your chicken, all you got to do is just dice it up real small, add it to the pan. Next, I'm going to saute any leftover veggies like the onions and peppers, and just until they're soft. And then I'm going to go ahead and add half a bag of mixed frozen vegetables. If I don't really have a whole lot of leftovers, what I'll do is use a whole bag. But if I have a bunch of vegetables, might as well save those mixed vegetables for later. Then I'm going to add a couple of the chicken bouillon cubes with some water and my cooked rice and any seasoning you like. And I just kind of look through my cabinet and see what sounds good. And then I just let that simmer for about 20 minutes. Now, I don't know if it's a southern thing or not, but I really like having some kind of bread with soup. And the easiest way to do that is just go ahead and make some toast in my toaster, put a little butter on it, and serve it with my meal. Super, super easy. Now, I'm just giving you a layout of how I would do it in order to maximize time for prepping and pre cooking as much as possible. You can totally mix and change up which breakfasts you have, which lunches you have, which dinners you have on what night. Totally customizable by you. Now, you may notice that I didn't include a seventh day in like a breakdown, and that's simply because that seventh day typically falls on a Saturday for my family, and it's kind of a free for all. What we do is we just do whatever leftovers are available for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. We're just cleaning out the fridge to make room for the next week's meal plan. Now that we've gone through all those details, I just want you to know that there is a free PDF to where you can have your own printable version of this. And some people like to print it and put it in like a binder, and then they can just cycle through different meal plans. Now, I've made the PDF in black and white because honestly, all those super colorful pictures are going to take a lot of ink on your home printer. And side note, if you don't have a printer, totally fine. You can just download this to your phone or to your email and then go to your local library. And it's usually like 5 or 10 cents a page to print it off. I think it's a total of 8 pages. So for less than $1, you're going to have a fully printed meal plan that you can keep for later on. It does include the shopping list and it does include the breakdown of every day. Now, the great thing is all you have to do is click the link to my website, scroll down, and you'll see a block that says print now, and you just print it, or you can save it and have it for later. There's no email required. You don't have to sign up for a newsletter. No BS. Just print it and be done with it. Now, don't forget that you really need to look at that shopping list and make sure that you don't already have some of those items at home. Maybe you already have some ranch dressing. Maybe you already have tortilla chips or brown sugar. Those are all things you don't want to buy again. So make sure to double check what you already have, check it off the list, and then go to the grocery store. Now, I do post these meal plans here on YouTube, as well as my website and on my Facebook page. So make sure to check back for next week's plan. And I try to post them around 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday mornings. So until next week, I hope you have a wonderful week. See you later. And if you have any questions or suggestions of what you'd like to see in the future, absolutely leave me a comment. I respond to them all. Thanks again. Bye.